Today we are reacting to top 9 small business ideas for 2020. Now I see videos titled similar things to this all the time: top business, most profitable business, all over the spectrum. And some of them are really good and some of them are a little bit off base, just from the perspective of a business owner myself. So I thought I would watch this video for the very first time and give my honest feedback as to what you could expect, a more realistic picture from a business owner's perspective. So this video is by Silicon Valley Girl, so I have a feeling that it's probably a little bit more on the tech side, but I'm not really familiar with this channel, so let's see, let's jump right in.
What's up, you guys? Welcome to Silicon Valley Girl. Today we're going to talk about top business ideas for 2020, and they're not going to be those obvious ideas that you can think of yourself, like starting a restaurant or a car wash. We're going to talk about ideas based on recent trends, recent growing markets, and if you're interested, continue watching this video.
So that's a little bit of a warning sign for me right away. Starting a business having to do with a recent trend or something that's currently hot, there's obviously a lot of risk in something that is all of a sudden really popular, because who knows if that's going to last, but we'll see.
Oh, by the way, very important rule. If you decide to start your own business, your motivation shouldn't be because Marina said it's going to be a great business. Your motivation should be, wow, I love this market. I've been on it for a while, or maybe you've thought of it for a while, and then Marina mentioned something that is growing. Maybe this is the right time. Maybe this is the trigger for me to go and start something there. So always listen to your heart. So obvious, right?
Okay, so I do think that's a little bit better perspective. I'm glad she said that. Like, not just because she said this is a good business doesn't necessarily mean it is. You know, do your due diligence. If it's something you're already curious about, maybe she'll give some more context and more information on it, and then you could potentially pursue it.
So obvious, right? But that's the only thing. They're going to dig you through all the problems that you're going to encounter when starting a business, and this will make you successful. Okay, let's do it. First business idea is starting a co-working space. And I know if you live in a big city like San Francisco, Los Angeles, there are plenty of co-working spaces, but I also find that when I travel to smaller cities, I struggle to find the right place to work out of. What I've seen in other countries, what people do, they rent an apartment and convert it into co-working space just for friends, and they come and work out of there. Of course, if your landlord allows that. But people all over the world are looking for smaller places to work out of.
So I'm not sure how good of a business idea that exactly is, because I mean, we look at something like WeWork and they're in massive debt right now and they're a co-working business. And there's a lot of critics who say it's just a fundamental business problem. WeWork isn't the first business to have a ton of debt and a ton of issues because of a similar business model. And we could put this into perspective like investing into the stock of a larger business. You don't want to invest into a business that pays things in the long term, but receives money on the short term. So like with WeWork, they have 20-year leases, or they're buying buildings, but then they're renting out individual spaces on a month-to-month basis. So if something happens like a global pandemic and all of their renters are leaving immediately, they're still left with this huge amount of expense and potentially a lot of issue on the other end. I will say there is a value in a co-working space as far as just like productivity. If you can get a good group of people together that are all productive and kind of bringing each other up, there's an advantage there. But as a business, I would just be really hesitant where, you could be potentially stuck with a ton of expense. Not to say that it couldn't potentially work.
The next business idea hit 74,000 Google searches last month. Do you know what it is? It's posture corrector. So you've probably seen them on Facebook. You put the small device on your back and it vibrates whenever your posture is incorrect. I haven't seen a lot of businesses in that space, and with this trend, 74,000 searches a month, there's definitely space out there for another company. Because I remember when car sharing business just started to become big, there was Uber, and then suddenly Lyft appeared, and I was like, wow, why would people start another company on this market?
So I don't necessarily think that that's a bad idea. She's definitely right that in most industries there's like 2 or 3 big players. I know there are those devices that go on your back for posture. To label that as a small business idea, though, I'm not sure is totally accurate, because if you're going to manufacture something like this, there's a lot of R&D, a lot of physical manufacturing that isn't cheap at all. Like, it could potentially be a great idea, a great business, but like she's saying right now, it's kind of like, okay, there's an Uber out there. It's kind of like saying, oh, you should start another Uber because this company is doing well. Yeah, you could make money with it, but this is going to be something that costs a lot to do right.
Number 4, just listen to the market size, $3.4 billion. This is the market size for men's cosmetics. And there is a niche that has been growing really fast, $1 billion market. Remember Dollar Shave Club and all that stuff? $1 billion market, shaving cosmetics. $1 billion market. And I think this business compared...
So I like this idea better than the past 3 that we've seen. It's big, it's growing here, there are established products, and it's a simple business. Just comparing that to something like the posture device, yes, people buy that, but it's not nearly as established. People don't have to buy that. It's more complicated. It's harder to manufacture. I think this is a more realistic idea, and I like this idea more.
The next business idea, reusable bags. And yes, huge trend right now, and I think this is one of the best trends I've seen. In the US, I think California is a great example in terms of you cannot get a free bag when you do your groceries. You need to pay at least like 10 cents to get a bag, and in a lot of shops...
Here's the thing about eco-friendly businesses. They're great. People want to use an eco-friendly business, but the majority of people are only going to use that when the price makes sense. Yes, you're going to have this small group of people, 5-10% of consumers, who are going to be willing to pay slightly more for the eco-friendly service, for the organic food, for things like that. But unless you're able to actually make the price lower to make your service more efficient than what the other guys are doing, it's going to be really hard to grow and scale, because at the end of the day, those are the things that will really allow you to expand.
In a lot of shops, the bags would be paper bags instead of plastic bags, which is amazing. And with this 10 to 20 cents fee, people are encouraged to bring their reusable bag. And this is actually a huge business opportunity because, reusable bags tend to be bulky, they tend to be huge, and you wouldn't really carry them with you. But if you make it foldable, if you make it stylish, so I wouldn't need to carry like my...
So I suppose this is a little bit different than what I just commented on, because she's giving an example of a situation where you're having to pay money to use that non-eco-friendly thing, meaning you have to pay money to use those plastic bags. So there's an incentive to bring a reusable bag. So in that sense, the incentive is already built in, which would make it easier to have some success in that.
The next business, smart apparel. Do you remember there was this hoodie that was for travelers, and I think a lot of people, like every second person in Silicon Valley had it because we travel so much. It had an inflatable pillow that was inside that hoodie. Just making another sweatshirt or another t-shirt wouldn't be that lucrative. Probably what I would do, I would partner with somebody who knows how to create technological stuff. Like I recently met guys who are doing t-shirts that change their color, so you don't have to buy like 5 different t-shirts, you buy just one. And there is this fabric that changes its color, and there are 2 people working on it.
My first thought on a business like this is it sustainable? When you start a business, you want to be able to sell that product for a long period of time. And so I see this smart clothing thing where, the hoodie that covers your eyes, things like that. I get the vibe I get from it is like a late TV infomercial kind of thing, like almost a gimmick. Like, yeah, people will buy that because it's interesting, it's something different. But will people continue to buy that? It kind of reminds me of like the Snuggie or things like that. That could just be a trend in itself. Yes, you could make a bunch of money all right away, but I would prefer to have a business that's just like a consistent, simple product that people will still need down the road.
Okay, let's move on to the last business idea. And maybe you've been listening to this and you're like, Marina, okay, what you're suggesting is pretty hard to start because yes, you need
That's exactly what I'm suggesting.
Co-founder, you need to be good at technology, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's a simple business idea. It's a slightly more, well, it's not a slightly more, it's a very competitive market. It's travel market. There's a niche in an online booking business that I think needs some improvement. And what I'm talking about is actually selling rewards tickets. And what you could do, you could buy miles from those people who just don't use them and sell reward flights to people like me who are looking for cheaper business classes.
So what she's talking about is some kind of secondary market, basically for travel points. You use your credit card, you build up so many points, and then you're able to sell those on some kind of secondary market. She said that this was going to be a simple idea. That one seems like maybe the most complicated idea we've seen so far. I know with me personally, my credit card points, I just change them to cash back and get a check like once a year. It's how I do it. I could definitely see this working with a secondary market because people would obviously be willing to pay less to get a flight if they're buying those rewards points from someone else. However, the travel industry, again, is another one right now that might not be the best industry to jump in. We just saw a report yesterday that travel will not completely recover until 2024. So might not be the best time for a travel-related industry business, but I like where her head's at. I like the creativity of her ideas. For me personally, for a small business owner, for someone who especially hasn't started a business before, I keep on saying this, but I like the predictability. I like a simple business. Look into service type businesses where there's already a market where you know you're going to get customers, something like a pool cleaning business, something like a moving company, cleaning business, things where there are already people looking for those businesses and there's a lot of room for improvement to offer amazing service and do better than the people in your local area. If you're interested in a service business, call around and see how terrible the customer service is in that industry that you're looking at potentially starting a business in, and you'll be amazed at the room for improvement there. So I think she has some awesome ideas as far as these big, extraordinary, potentially billion-dollar businesses, but to call them small business ideas, I'm not sure is the most accurate categorization. But overall, I think it's valuable just to be able to think about these different things and kind of expand the possibilities. But for most people, I think a simpler, smaller, more predictable business is the way to do it. So that's all we have for today. I'd like to thank you for watching and hope you have a profitable day.